Hey y'all, happy Friday. Today we have three main topics that I want to get into centering Prince Harry and Meghan, the Duke and Duchess of Sussex. First, we have to talk about Meghan's appearance at Emma Grede's A Seat at the Table dinner. We also have to talk about the Times. For some reason, they're targeting Meghan, and Feminegra is calling them out, rightfully so. And then lastly, we're going to end on a high note with Katie Couric's amazing praise of Harry and Meghan's work. We have a lot to get into, so let's get started. Thank you so much for clicking on my video, and if you're returning, welcome back to my channel. Today, we have three main topics to get into about Harry and Meghan, but before we do that, if you haven't already, please don't forget to go ahead and like this video, subscribe to the channel, and please don't forget to share so that more people can find us. Now let's get into the first topic. We're going to start with an article titled, Meghan Sussex attends Emma Grede's A Seat at the Table dinner in Los Angeles. Now, I saw these photos go up all over social media last night. It was such a fun frenzy. I saw the videos. I saw Emma Grede's stories on IG. There was so much going on, and it seemed like everyone had an amazing time. It definitely seemed like that was a very important room to be in. Meghan was right at home. Everyone looked so happy, and they looked like they were getting a lot done. It's clear that that was a great networking opportunity, especially when you listen to Emma Grede's speech, but we'll get more details from Feminegra. This article was written by Miss Historian. Meghan Sussex joined entrepreneur Emma Grede in Los Angeles for the latest A Seat at the Table dinner. The private event celebrated women in business, creativity, and philanthropy. It took place at designer Kelly Wearstler's home and featured leading figures from fashion and media. The evening focused on connection, mentorship, and collaboration among influential women. Grede, co-founder of Good American and founding partner of Skims, described the night as about women coming together to share openly, trade resources, and help each other get things done. I really like her approach to business, but also networking. She just seems like she has such a grounded and common sense approach to doing things that some people can really overdo and overthink and just make so much more complicated than they need to be. Emma Grede seems so no nonsense, and I really like her approach. I love working with people like her who are super direct, kind, but also get down to business. Guests including Rachel Zoe, Bazoma St. John, Maria Sharapova, and Chriselle Lim toasted at a long candlelit table filled with cherry blossoms and soft gold light. The plant-based meal came from Chef Camilla Marcus, paired with, get this y'all, paired with wine from As Ever, Meghan's lifestyle wine and label. I absolutely love that, and what a nice touch, Emma. A circle of collaboration. Photos show Meghan at ease beside Grede, wearing a Camel Gualiba heritage suit with Balenciaga heels and a gold necklace from R8. Her understated style matched the tone of the night, refined, confident, and unforced. Guests described the dinner as epically beautiful and powerful, echoing Grede's belief that ambition and community thrive best together. Influencer Katie Lee of Highbrow Hippie, who appeared on Meghan's Confessions of a Female Founder podcast, called Grede's gatherings the most memorable evenings I've been blessed to attend. She thanked the host for leading with light, positivity, and consistency in showing up for other women. Grede urged guests to turn inspiration into action and to champion one another's ventures beyond the room. Her leadership reinforced a simple truth: women succeed faster when they build together. I absolutely agree, and man, she looked fantastic. That's definitely her color. A new kind of community. Tabloids painted Meghan's appearance as part of a relaunch, but those present saw something more grounded. She appeared calm and connected, surrounded by peers instead of courtiers. Her expanding network from Montecito to Los Angeles now reflects a stability that comes from shared purpose. For followers of her journey, this moment feels earned. Meghan has found her rhythm and a community that mirrors her values. Judging by the photos of the night, it looked like everyone had an amazing time. It definitely seemed like there was a lot of really great information shared, and it seemed like that was a wonderful room to be in. Meghan was right at home. All of those women supporting one another, they all have their own separate ventures. They all are killing it in their fields. I also wanted to point out someone in this photo. So we see Katie Lee here, but next to Katie Lee is Yvonne Orji. Now, I'm trying to circle it. If you can see that, I hope so. Yvonne Orji is actually an actress, but she has an extensive resume. I watched her interview, a few of her interviews with like The Breakfast Club. I watched her stand-up comedy specials, and she's not only hilarious and a great actress, but that woman is smart. Very smart. She's fluent in Spanish, just like Meghan. She's worked in government. She has this extensive resume. She is highly educated. She's just a very cool, just complex woman. And I love that there's so many sides to her. Like, she literally has her pick of whatever field she wants to go in. She knows she's going to dominate. But one of my favorite things about Yvonne is that she was on a show called Insecure. Insecure is one of my top 5 favorite shows of all time. It was on HBO. It was presented by Issa Rae, one of my favorite people in media. And Issa Rae was also on Meghan's Archetype show. Now, I have been a fan of Issa Rae for a long time, since my first stint in college. Y'all know I just returned, but my first stint in college, I used to watch Awkward Black Girl on YouTube. I also read her memoir, Adventures of an Awkward Black Girl. I think that's what it's called. It's so good, and it's very funny. Issa Rae is funny. But the reason I bring that up is because Yvonne Orji and Issa Rae were leads on the show Insecure, and Issa Rae was on Meghan's podcast Archetypes with her. She's also from Los Angeles, and they bonded over that. So I love how not only is Meghan's business world and networking community growing, but I love that it's kind of all coming together full circle. I just thought that was so cool to see Yvonne Orji there. And she looked like she was also having a wonderful time. It just seemed like a great room to be in. And I'm so glad that Meghan seemed to have a wonderful time. Now, we got to talk about these outfits. Okay, so I said this on Threads, so those of you who follow me have already heard these sentiments, but Meghan is not letting us breathe. And I know Vogue did a backflip because they have been watching her like a hawk. And I did a whole video on that yesterday, not realizing that this dinner was going to be happening and that there will be even more looks. So I'm probably going to have a part 20 of the Vogue Darling series. But anyway, Meghan looked fantastic. I love that she went with the pullback pony. I like how everyone was in the same like color scale, the kind of camel, the beige, the warm tones. They all looked amazing, but I have to say, I love that Meghan went with an oversized blazer. I just thought that was such a cool touch. And she pulled up the sleeves, and you can tell that 1, it was comfortable, but 2, it's just so structured that it makes the oversized element look really cool. Sometimes people who do the oversized look, if you don't get the tailoring right on that, and if it isn't structured, in my opinion, it can just come off baggy. And so I'm always holding my breath when I see that someone has done oversized, because I have seen it done where you could see where the goal was and the intention was, but it's all in the execution. Something you can never play with Meghan about is tailoring and suiting. She knows what she's doing. She knows what she wants, and she knows what to look for. She's in her bag. So this came off perfectly. I love this look. I like the oversized blazer. I love the pants. I love the top. I loved everything about it. And I really enjoyed her choice of jewelry. I like that she's going with a few more statement necklaces now. It's interesting because when we recapped with Love Meghan, we actually talked about her going very, very minimalist with the necklaces and the jewelry. But also, you have to keep in mind, in with Love Meghan, she's not only talking to people and hosting, but she's cooking, she's outdoors, she's using the garden, she's pulling from the garden and planting, she's busy, she's also crafting. So it's probably best to go minimal with jewelry, but I like that we're getting a variety. I like that you can't really just put Meghan in one box, especially when it comes to fashion. I'm really enjoying this era of hers. The more I see her, the more I observe the things that she's doing, the places she's popping up and the people she's around, the more I just see her continuing to define this era of joy with more and more and more joy. I just absolutely love it. And I like that she is including us in this now. Now, Emma Grede's look, hands down, the best I've ever seen Emma Grede look. And that's saying a lot because I follow her on TikTok and I follow her on social media, and she can dress her ass off. She knows style. This is my favorite Emma Grede look I have seen so far. This color, this makeup, this jewelry, her hair, but most of all, this outfit. Absolutely. I love this color on her. She is practically glowing. This is a beautiful color on her. And I think that top is leather. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. And I also have to have a nice, polite shout out for Katie Lee's vest, the fur vest. Oh my God, I love that so much. I love people who take chances. And then you have this print. I'm not sure what you call that. Y'all, what is this print called on her top? What is this print? I'm going to try to circle it. What is that print called? Anyway, that gives very like groovy 70s vibe with the fur vest. I can see the whole look all together, and it's giving very much 70s, that retro vibe. I absolutely love it. Now, y'all are going to beat me down about this. I am a millennial, so it's probably going to be a surprise, but my favorite decade is the 70s. I feel like it just produced the best music, the best looks, the best clothes. It's like the media commentary. something about the 70s just speaks to my heart. I'm pretty sure that was a big year for me in my past life, and maybe that's what it is, but I love, love, love the 70s. This is my whole vibe. Katie Lee definitely served it up. Anyway, everyone looked amazing. It looked like everyone had a great time, and I'm so glad that Emma Grede, Meghan, and all of the guests shared so much so that we could be part of it. Okay, so for our next topic, this one I ignored, but apparently this is a pretty big deal. A lot of people are talking about it, and I've seen maybe 5 different outlets pick up this story. I genuinely, and I'm not even going to lie, I'll admit when I'm wrong or I've misjudged something. I genuinely did not think this story was going to grow legs. I thought there's no way they're going to actually run with that, especially with all of the other content. We know that media publications and platforms love to use Meghan's name and face and whatever else to try to get publicity and clicks. We know that that's what they do. But there's so much content out there. Why are you guys digging for bones? It's just so stupid. And so I genuinely didn't think this would grow legs. And then yesterday and this morning, I just see people picking up on it. And the first thing I thought was, I hope Feminagra posted something about this, because they are going to get you together when it comes to Meghan. And I absolutely love it. Now, this was written by Miss Historian. And the title is "The Times Targets Meghan Sussex in a False Charity Scandal." Notice how that's actually the situation with both her and Harry. They tried to rope Harry into several charity scandals, and now they're trying to do the same thing with Meghan. Wash, rinse, repeat. When will they learn that these tactics don't work? I guess the best thing to say is they won't learn. That's why they are who they are, and she is who she is. When the Times published its piece titled "Charity Represented by Meghan Accused of Racism and Sexism," readers could be forgiven for thinking the Duchess of Sussex was implicated in wrongdoing. In reality, Meghan Sussex has had no connection to World Vision UK, the branch at the center of the claims. Her ambassadorial work with World Vision Canada ended in 2017, months before she joined the royal family. The difference is crucial, yet it was ignored. That's a beautiful picture of Meghan before we continue. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Anyway, let's continue. I love that makeup look. She looks so good. The article frames Meghan as an active participant in a scandal that has nothing to do with her. It uses her name to sell a story about workplace complaints within an entirely separate organization. That omission is not accidental. It is part of a long-running British media tactic: attach Meghan to negativity to guarantee engagement. The Times has since added a brief note claiming to make clear that the Duchess of Sussex worked at World Vision from 2016 to 2017. Also, I want to point out, it was World Vision Canada. However, that clarification omits the crucial fact that Meghan's role was with, I could have waited. See, I can depend on Miss Historian. I'm not used to people being thorough, so I'm going to have to get used to Miss Historian being so thorough. However, that clarification omits the crucial fact that Meghan's role was with World Vision Canada, not the UK branch now under scrutiny. This distinction, easily verified with a simple online search, was ignored in both the headline and the original text. The correction does little to undo the misleading framing that initially linked her to a UK-based controversy. Even when that lady moved away, they are so obsessed with her. What Meghan actually did. Before her marriage, Meghan worked with World Vision Canada, emphasis on Canada. The focus was on access to clean water and girls' education. She visited Rwanda and India to support humanitarian programs and stepped down from the organization in late 2017. Her role ended before she became a working royal. World Vision operates through national branches, each with independent governance and leadership. World Vision UK's internal issues are its own. Yet the Times blurred this distinction to imply continuity between Meghan's advocacy and a UK charity under assessment. That was intentional. This kind of distortion creates confusion while tarnishing a reputation that has already endured years of media hostility. She's absolutely right. The facts are simple. Meghan has not worked with World Vision in 8 years, and she was never linked to its British branch. But accuracy was secondary to the headline's shock value. The piece reads as an effort to undermine Meghan's credibility as a humanitarian, precisely at a time when her global influence continues to grow. A familiar distraction strategy. The timing of the Times article is notable. It appeared as renewed attention turned toward Prince Andrew and his continuing legal and financial controversies. The timing of this is crazy, but as I was discussing how Harry and Meghan are often scapegoated by the media to protect the other royals, specifically Prince Andrew and his nonsense, Well, he released a statement today saying that he will be relinquishing his Duke of York title because of a new posthumous memoir coming out from Virginia Giuffre. Once again, please rest in peace, Virginia Giuffre. I'm so sad that she is no longer in the land of the living, and I hope she found peace on the other side. But I'm going to read an article super quick, the update from Deadline. And the reason I'm reading it from Deadline is because they are unabashedly honest, and I love the way they wrote this article giving this update. It says, 5 years after Queen Elizabeth II insisted the scandal-plagued Prince Andrew stand back from public life, the oldest brother of King Charles II today has relinquished all his royal titles, kind of. While he will no longer be the Duke of York, he will still be known as Prince Andrew, a title since birth and his name. Important to note, Andrew has not been formally stripped of the various titles or his HRH, which is crazy. But in today's mothballing, he will not use them in the future. As a posthumous memoir from Prince Andrew and Donald Trump's pal, Jeffrey Epstein's victim, Virginia Giuffre, is set to be released on October 21st. The aristocratic Brit put out a short statement announcing his new so-called self-demoted status. Note the lack of anything approaching an apology. And again, that's why I read that from Deadline. Prince Andrew's statement reads, "In discussion with the King and my immediate and wider family, we have concluded the continued accusations about me distract from the work of His Majesty and the royal family. I have decided, as I always have, to put my duty to my family and and country first." That's a laugh. "I stand by my decision 5 years ago to stand back from public life. With His Majesty's agreement, we feel I must now go a step further. I will therefore no longer use my title or the honors which have been conferred upon me. As I have said previously, I vigorously deny the accusations against me." Ends. I also wonder if Fergie will still be the Duchess of York. I mean, I guess it wouldn't make sense for her to still be the Duchess of York if there's no Duke of York. I'm really curious. Maybe it'll give us more insight into this article, but I don't know. We'll have to see how things pan out. If you guys have any insight on that, please weigh in. There has been no statement from Buckingham Palace on Andrew's new title status, yet as his circumspect King Charles and King-to-be Prince William would have surely played a large role in this move to push Andrew further off the center stage. In excerpts from her Nobody's Girl, a memoir of surviving abuse and fighting for justice book, Virginia Giuffre bluntly details how the presently imprisoned Ghislaine Maxwell drew her into Epstein's world after a meeting at Trump's Mar-a-Lago. She claims that world became a rotating door of sex with rich men at Epstein and Maxwell's discretion. While Giuffre spoke of working for Trump, who has been actively suppressing information about his close ties to Epstein, and meeting him repeatedly as she was part of Epstein's circle, she never alleged sexual abuse from the former apprentice host. Seen in photos with Prince Andrew, who has long denied the claims of having sex with her, and the extent of their friendship with party pal Epstein, Giuffre writes in her book that at their first time meeting together in 2001, the royal believed having sex with me was his birthright. Jesus. "The next morning, Maxwell told me, 'You did well. The prince had fun. Epstein would give me $15,000 for servicing the man the tabloids called Randy Andy.' Giuffre died on April 25th of this year in an apparent suicide. Rest in peace, Virginia Giuffre. Andrew has long untruthfully sworn he cut off ties with Epstein in the early 2000s as accusations and charges were made against the pedophile financier." Again, this is why I chose Deadline. They do not play. However, vigorously denying once again the accusations Friday, Andrew's long interviews with the likes of the BBC on the subject of Epstein over the years have been contradicted by correspondence and more. A similar fate has been met by Andrew's ex-wife over when she actually ended her relationship with Epstein, with emails presenting a very different timeline. To that, while the former couple's daughters will maintain their princess titles, the now former Duchess of York will simply go by Sarah Ferguson. Oh, I guess I could have waited. They gave me all that information. I've been saying that though, because she and Andrew are divorced. I know they still live together, but even when they divorced, I always felt like he is an heir, but he wasn't the heir, and it would take some time to get to him should he become the next in line, should horrible things befall the family, excuse me. But the point I'm making is, because he wasn't next in line, I always felt like when they divorced, Sarah Ferguson should have just become Sarah Ferguson. She should have lost her Duchess of York titles, and I never understood why she didn't, even though she still lived with him. Now, I could understand if they were the heir and his wife, because this person is likely going to become king. It would just cause a lot of confusion. I could understand that. But That wasn't the case. They're further down in the line of succession. So I didn't understand why when they divorced, she didn't just lose Duchess of York, but I guess better late than never. Long ensnared is his long relationship with the now deceased Epstein, who supposedly committed suicide. I love Deadline. I love Deadline. Wow. I'm surprised they said that. I mean, that's something we all say. Like, most people don't believe he really committed suicide or that he's really dead. But I'm just surprised to see somebody like Deadline, a publication like this, actually say something along those lines. Long ensnared in his long relationship with the now deceased Epstein, who supposedly committed suicide while in police custody in 2019, Andrew has become as a public pariah to his image-conscious family since his mother's death in 2022. Along with the constant stain of Epstein, Prince Andrew was caught in a photograph socializing with Kai Qi, an individual at the core of a now shuttered Chinese spy scandal that has captivated the UK's parliament. Goodness. As the news of Andrew's detitling broke, only the BBC went to live coverage. CNN, Fox News, and MSNBC stayed on Ukraine President Vladimir Zelensky's latest visit to the White House in search of further weapons from Trump. There's so much going on today. Like, today is just a crazy day. But wow, it's so funny. We were right on topic of this and this news broke. Anyway, what do y'all make of this? Let's get back to the original topic, Percy's. This pattern is familiar. When royal scandals surface, Meghan becomes the media's preferred diversion. Stories linking her to unrelated issues appear with striking regularity, pushing public focus away from those still within the institution. Social media users were quick to call out the manipulation. Journalists and readers alike described the article as misleading and libelous. Even commentators who once defended the Times now say it has abandoned editorial standards in favor of clickbait. Murdoch's ownership has increasingly blurred the line between journalism and tabloid sensationalism. While the Times quietly amended its article. Now, see, this is what I have a problem with. If you do something to someone, your apology needs to be louder than the initial grievance. I cannot stand a person who will harm you loudly and publicly and then want to apologize in private. I do not accept private apologies at all. I do not accept quiet apologies. If you harm me or do something to transgress against me, you need to apologize louder than you transgressed. Don't be loud and wrong and think you're going to get to come on back around me. You need to apologize. Anyway, while the Times quietly amended its article, the damage is already done. The misleading headline remains online and continues to circulate across social media platforms, fueling harassment and misinformation. Now y'all see why Meghan, well, y'all know, if you watch this channel, you know, but now they see why Meghan says her relationship with social media is complicated. When you have this many people in so many different places, especially prominent places with these established publications and platforms gunning for you, I would say complicated is an understatement. They better be glad she's as kind as she is. A one-line disclaimer cannot counteract days of traffic and outrage. By refusing to issue a full correction, the outlet reinforces the same cycle Meghan once described, journalists using her name to pay the bills regardless of fairness or factual accuracy. The Times article offers yet another case study in how misinformation thrives under the veneer of legitimacy. It falsely ties Meghan Sussex to a charity she left years ago, omits key facts, and capitalizes on her name to generate outrage. Such behavior is exploitation disguised as reporting, and it's poorly disguised at that. Meghan's record with World Vision Canada remains one of service and advocacy, not scandal. Yet British media continue to rewrite her story to shield the establishment from scrutiny. When truth becomes optional, integrity disappears with it. I also want to point out, at the end of the day, this whole controversy, it's not going to stop. They're going to find new and inventive ways to implicate her in things. And they don't have a care in the world that trying to drag her down, trying and failing to drag her down is only digging their own grave. And at some point, their own doing is going to bury them. And I'm just going to watch as they do it. At this point, they know what they're doing. They are losing trust with their readers. Not everyone is this eccentric person who wants to believe something negative about Meghan. At this point, you're not only negating your own morals and integrity, but you're negating the morals and integrity and attention and loyalty of your readers. Not everyone is a deranger. Not everyone wants news with a splash of criticism, critique, and lies. Some people actually want to know what's really happening in the world. Some people actually want to be able to believe what's in front of them in black and white. When you can't even tell the truth, and when you do make a mistake, you can't even loudly and proudly make the correction, how are you actually respecting the people who buy or read into or frequent your publication? You're actually shunning them for the extremists who are just looking for something to get off to. Because at the end of the day, if they weren't obsessed with Meghan and Harry, they would not read your publication nor this clickbait. If they actually stood for something, they would read your other articles about other things and other people that they claim to love and care about. I bet if you scratched a deranger and said, hey, what did you last support Kate on? They wouldn't even know that the heifer's wearing a blonde wig. They probably wouldn't even know that she's reappeared, that she's no longer disappeared from 2024. They probably don't even know. They probably have no idea what her latest exploits were. They probably have no idea what Prince William is working on now. That's probably fair because he doesn't actually work. They probably have no idea what Charles and Camilla are up to, what they're doing next, or where they've been in the last 12 months. Because what they do know is that they're obsessed with Meghan. And the only thing they plan on doing is watching her like a hawk because she's the person that they're obsessed with. Take it from me. I don't personally care for William, Kate, Charles, and Camilla. There are times where I will say something about them here and there if they cross paths in some way or their stories intersect with Harry and Meghan's in some way. But rarely do I seek out information about them. Rarely do I engage anything about them. And when I do hear about them, it's often against my will. And you can probably tell based on the commentary that I'm happy to give about them. But what I don't do is substitute information, knowledge, and content about Harry and Meghan for William and Kate. If there's something to talk about when it comes to Harry and Meghan, that's what we're talking about first and foremost. But the derangers can't say that, and it's because they're not actually fans or supporters of William and Kate. They just want to be racist and misogynistic. That's it. They don't actually like the people that they're using against Harry and Meghan, despite there being no competition and not possible to compare them. At the end of the day, if y'all are using William and Kate against Harry and Meghan, then you've chosen to take on a losing battle, and that's on you. That says a lot more about your intellect and common sense than it says about anybody else. At the end of the day, the people who are buying into the clickbait, the people who are buying into these very blatant lies, and the people who refuse to do any due diligence, not just the people who write these stories, but the people who read them and don't think twice about looking into them and verifying this information, all of them are in the same cocktail of misinformation, ignorance, and at some point their deeds are going to be their undoing. And guess who it won't impact? Harry nor Meghan. We just talked about Meghan being at Emma Grede's A Seat at the Table dinner last night. Meghan belongs in spaces that William and Kate couldn't even dream of being invited to. Even their crown, even their access, even their privilege, even their hundreds of years of history and supposed influence can't get them in rooms that Meghan walks through freely. Meghan is invited to. They are lucky to have Meghan in those rooms that they roll out the red carpet for Harry and Meghan in. William and Kate can't even compare. So what makes you think they can compete? Hopefully their fans realize that engaging with things about them and ignoring things about Harry and Meghan is probably their best bet. And hopefully at some point these publications realize we're bringing ourselves down, attempting and failing to bring someone else down. More to that point, someone who's done nothing wrong. I always want to come back to that because when I can ask what was the big grievance that she allegedly committed that's got you on this tear, no one ever has an answer for me. The moment I ask that on social media, the moment I ask that in videos, the moment I've asked that with talking to other people, the first thing they say is a whole bunch of misinformation that's easily debunked if you simply Google. Even AI overview will tell you the truth. My God, if you don't want to click into things and verify sources, fine. But even AI interview will get you right. It's the lack of attempt, the lack of care, and the intentional hating of her that's the problem for me. Because at the end of the day, she's not the person you hate. It's what she represents. And that's something you have to heal within yourself. If you want to be a princess or a prince of the patriarchy, then you go right ahead. But the world is going to leave you behind. Things that fail to evolve will die. If you don't evolve, if you don't change, you will die. That goes for people, that goes for institutions, that goes for mindsets, that goes for belief systems, that goes for governments. If you don't evolve with the times, if you don't evolve with the people, if you don't evolve over time, you will fail to exist. And so as people continue to try to operate in this extremely archaic and detrimental way, they're only continuing to seal their own demise. And that's not Meghan's fault. Good for Meghan for continuing to hold her head high. Again, if it were me, I don't know that I wouldn't at some point just dedicate an hour a day to cussing y'all's asses out. But I'm so glad that she is so much better than that. And I'm so glad that she is classy, tactful, and she has a lot more to do than to worry about these assholes. I'm going to follow her lead. Let's go to the next story. For our last story, and I'm really excited to get to this one, Katie Couric extended her praise of Harry and Meghan. Now, Katie Couric is somebody who she's not going to blow smoke. She is not going to give you fluff. If she doesn't like you, if she doesn't believe in you, if she doesn't think what you're doing is great, you're not going to hear her say that. She's an extremely honest person and she has a lot of clout. She has an extremely amazing career. She has done so much and she is absolutely right with her assessment of Harry and Meghan's work. So let's get to the article in Feminegra titled, Katie Couric praises Prince Harry and Meghan Sussex for extraordinary work on mental health. Also, side note, this look on Katie Couric is really nice. I love that olive on her. Prince Harry and Meghan Sussex have earned new praise for their work in mental health advocacy, this time from veteran journalist and broadcaster Katie Couric. Speaking exclusively to Hello, Couric called their efforts extraordinary, commending the couple for not just giving it lip service, but actively engaging with families and experts through their Archewell Foundation and Project Healthy Minds partnerships. Her remarks come amid a growing chorus of high-profile voices recognizing the Duke and Duchess of Sussex for turning advocacy into tangible impact. Couric applauds actions over optics. Katie Couric, a longtime advocate for mental health awareness, moderated a major panel at the 2025 Project Healthy Minds World Mental Health Day Festival, where both Prince Harry and Meghan, the Duke and Duchess of Sussex, delivered speeches. Quote, I think it's extraordinary what Harry and Meghan have done in terms of really focusing attention on this issue and really getting involved. They're not just giving it lip service, but getting to know these families, telling their stories, and helping to build a community around the issue. She's absolutely right about that. The event highlighted the couple's ongoing efforts to connect with families affected by social media harm. Meghan spoke about the Archewell Foundation's Parents Network, which brings together parents who have lost children to social media harm. Harry announced a new partnership with Parents Together, a U.S. nonprofit that advocates for families' rights and digital safety. I absolutely love that. Did y'all hear the crowd cheer when he announced that collaboration? I thought that was so cool. Couric's words carried weight beyond celebrity admiration. As a journalist who has spent years advocating around technology addiction and mental health, her praise placed the couple within a global conversation about responsible leadership, compassion, and modern parenting in the digital age. Wider recognition from global figures. Couric's commendation joins a growing list of influential figures who have publicly supported Harry and Meghan's humanitarian work. Chef and humanitarian Jose Andres, founder of World Central Kitchen. Also, watch his episode of With Love Meghan. I think it's my fave. Has repeatedly described the couple as hands-on and deeply compassionate. Since 2020, their Archewell Foundation has funded community relief centers through World Central Kitchen, supporting disaster responses from all over the world. California's 2025 wildfires, Andres publicly thanked them for volunteering and comforting displaced families. Absolutely. California Governor Gavin Newsom has also praised the couple's work. Now, here's the thing about Gavin. Gavin definitely doesn't blow smoke. That man is, whether you like him or hate him, you cannot deny that man is hilarious. He is hilariously honest. Like, even when it paints him as a bad guy, that man is so straightforward and honest. He is hilarious to me. I love him on social media. I know he has his drawbacks as a politician. All politicians do. But that man as a human being is freaking hilarious. Now, he is not going to blow smoke. If he don't like you, you will know it. And everyone else will too. So let's continue. California Governor Gavin Newsom has also praised the couple's work, describing the Archewell Foundation as a celebrated California nonprofit doing great work for women and families. His office has highlighted Harry and Meghan as among the first to volunteer during statewide emergencies, calling them proud residents of California. I know that's right. Leaders within mental health and advocacy sectors have echoed similar sentiments. Project Healthy Minds CEO Philip Shermer credited the couple's leadership with making a profound difference, while moral psychologist Jonathan Haidt highlighted the importance of Archewell's Parents Network in confronting tech harms. Parents Together executive Eileen Arezia called their partnership a David versus Goliath fight against big tech, while Oprah Winfrey's now famous 2021 interview helped amplify the very mental health struggles that inspired their ongoing activism. Again, how many times do they have to show us they turn their pain into purpose? The Sussex's impact beyond headlines. Well, we could be here all day now. They've done a lot and they do a lot. That's why I always recommend for people to go to archewell.org to just spend some time looking at all the things that they get into, all the places that they help, all the places they show up, all of the different ways, not just all the different instances, not just the different engagements, not just the amount of money they donate, but the varied ways that they show up for people in so many varied spaces. They really spread themselves out. It's incredible. For Harry and Meghan, advocacy has evolved from awareness to action. Through Archewell, they have supported community resilience, digital safety, and mental health initiatives that combined empathy with evidence-based programs. See, I love that. Again, this is kind of back to Katie Couric's comments. They actually put effort and work behind it to render tangible results. This is how they go about that. Their approach reflects a shift from royal patronage to participatory philanthropy, one rooted in service, not spectacle. At the Project Healthy Minds Festival, Harry made it clear that knowledge is power and community is strength, announcing Archewell's expansion into partnerships that strengthen parental networks and mental wellness. Meghan's remarks captured the emotional foundation of that mission. We felt the collective strength of this community coming together to heal and act. The recognition from Couric and others reflects more than public admiration. It signals a shift in how global leaders view the couple. They are seen as consistent advocates who use their platform for measurable social impact. In addition to that, again, Katie Couric doesn't have to say anything she doesn't want to, and trust me, she doesn't. She has a resume a mile long. She doesn't have to blow smoke. She doesn't need anybody to network with. She is where she is, and her place in culture is cemented. Believe that. So the fact that she took time to highlight what they're doing, that makes me so happy because one, they're getting praise from people who have nothing to gain from praising them. And the reason I want to point that out is because so often when people comment on them or praise them or highlight something great that they've done or how good they look or anything positive, the first thing people like to say is, oh, they paid them, or, oh, they just want to be in relation or network with them, or, oh, they must have paid them off, or they bought them off, or they had to give some quid pro quo. Like there's always these slew of extremely harmful, detrimental, and just libelous comments that are made. I think a large part of that, aside from all the other reasons we have discussed ad nauseum for years, but I think a large part of why people like to undercut and undermine their work is because a lot of their work is centered around uprooting a lot of the age-old systems that benefit from misogyny and the patriarchy. Harry and Meghan do work that brings people together. They do work that promotes inclusivity. They do work that breaks barriers and shatters glass ceilings, giving more people opportunities, visibility, resources. A lot of people who've gotten to where they've gotten to because of nepotism or because of racism or because of misogyny, a lot of those people are shaking in their boots because they know, oh my God, I can't compete with these people who are now flooding in because that glass ceiling was shattered. I can't compete with them on merit alone. I needed those advancements because if not, I would be right where they are. I had to have some kind of game in the system. I couldn't just do it fairly. If equity were a thing, I would be failing. Harry and Meghan create a more equitable world with the work that they're doing. And a lot of people are shaking in their boots. When Project Healthy Minds CEO called it David versus Goliath, they were right, because a lot of the institutions that Harry himself were calling out were these huge tech organizations. A lot of the organizations that Meghan has called out, i.e. Meta, these are big organizations that do not want to be shaken. They certainly don't want to be broken. And that's what it's going to take for us to see real change in the world. It's going to take a lot of brave people with real platforms and real resources who aren't scared of the pushback to really push forward. I love that they are both built the way they are with the mindsets and the souls and the spirits that they have, because it's going to take more people like them doing the work that they're doing to truly make change. And I love that Katie Couric, who is also equally in that same realm, I could say all the same things about her, she is also pointing out the good in the world. Again, this is how public leadership should be done. And they're not even in elected office. This is how it should be done. So anyway, I'm really glad that Katie Couric took a moment to acknowledge the work that they're doing. Harry and Meghan don't do it for acknowledgement or rewards or any of that stuff. They do it because they want to. And the quickest way to tell that is, what do they gain from it? The gain is simply bettering humanity. Those are the type of people I like to be around. Those are the type of people I like to see in positions of leadership and as an example to others. That kind of spirit should be spread and it should be praised so that more people embody it. Thank you so much for watching the SharionSade YouTube channel. I appreciate you watching my content. If you haven't already, please don't forget to go ahead and like this video by hitting the thumbs up. Please don't forget to subscribe by hitting the subscribe button. And don't forget to comment along the way. If you feel so inclined, please don't forget to share so that more people can find us. Once again, thank you so much for watching. Now let's get back to the video. So these three topics are definitely going to take us into the weekend. I wanted to end on a very high note and start on a high note. Unfortunately, we had to address the Times thing, but this is just par for the course. This is what the media has been known to do. I actually don't read the Times, so I wasn't aware of that commentary, but I did see other publications picking it up because that's what they do. When they're bored, they look for something to say. But it is a sad thing that they're not only still doing this, but also roping in charities and extremely good philanthropic organizations and trying to bring them down just for the sake of being racist. Like, oh my God. Like, in this day and age, there's so much to talk about. There's so much you could be using your voice and your platform for, and you're using it to try to bring harm to someone, not even just someone, but individuals, private citizens. Also, for people who are posting the comics and the commentary and the animated videos or whatever else, I'm not going to call any more attention to it. For those people who are claiming that it is satire, satire only works when it's punching up against the establishment. When you are using your massive platform to attack private citizens, that's not satire. That's bullying. That's misinformation. That's wrong. And given that I am in America, my whole audience is not, but I'm in America. And there is a lot you could be satirical about when it comes to our leadership, or what's masquerading as leadership. These psychopaths who left their hoods at home just to put on American flag pins and pretend to be public officials. You could be punching up at them. You could be talking about them. Our government at the time of recording this is shut down because of them. Anyway, hopefully people stop projecting soon enough. But I'm not going to hold my breath on that. As long as the world is spinning, people will be haters. You just have to lead them to it. But one thing that I always like to say is happy people aren't hating, and hating people aren't happy. So the moment you decide to use your platform, your microphone, or voice to attack somebody, we see you. And we're not seeing much. Those are my thoughts. I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. If you haven't already, please don't forget to go ahead and like this video, subscribe to the channel, and please don't forget to share so that more people can find us. And I will see y'all next time. Bye. Under the the social media Uyghurs, her ambassador, ambassadorial